Hi, good afternoon. My name is Jay Rothman, and welcome to Real People, Real Stories Live. I am excited and honored at the same time to have in the studio with me my guest today. His name is Ray Coates, and Ray is coming in from the UK. Welcome to Real People, Real Stories.
Thank you very much, Jay. Wonderful to be with you. Wonderful to be with you.
I'm going to take a moment here to share this out in the world, different channels in Facebook. So give me a moment here. Let's just take care of some business out of the gate. And here we go. Let me share this out in a few spots. And then we'll get going.
We're going out into the world. Wonderful.
We're going out into the world. So Ray, while I'm pushing this out, why don't you just take a moment here to share with me what part of the UK do you call home? And what have you been busy doing the last couple of months while most of the UK has been down in a level of quarantine?
Yeah, great question. We actually live in a small village near to a place called Silverstone. Silverstone is quite well known across the world, particularly in the UK, for a racetrack, Silverstone racetrack. So we live quite near there. At the moment, it's very quiet, as many places are. But the last few months, I've been being creative, really, which many people are. It's funny, just a little bit of an aside. We were sharing a family video the other day, and people were talking about flour, how difficult flour is to find at the moment in shops. And essentially, because so many people have taken up baking. So I suppose in some ways, creatively, musically, I've been baking. I've been writing more. I've been writing from a young age, but over the last few months, I've been even more creative. Working on and releasing an album. That's been a massive part, and I we'll talk about that later. But yeah, lots of songwriting, lots of reaching out to people, lots of video calls, making connections.
Beautiful.
So,
Ray, it's just a couple of 24 hours ago that you and I were introduced to one another by a friend in common. That's Charles Maddox, from the filmmaker, executive producer of 8 Days. And I'd like for you to just take a moment here to share what was your involvement in that project.
Charles approached me. I did a Facebook live interview with a lady called Mary Sterling. I still have contact with Mary. And at the time, I was doing quite a lot of acting. I was just really trying to reach out into my more creative side. And I did a Facebook live. And Mary said to me, she said, "Have you ever heard of Bob Marley?" And I went, "Yes, of course." And she said, "Well, his nephew, a guy called Charles Maddox, has been listening to your interview, and he's going to approach you about a documentary series that he's got coming out." And that led to Charles approaching me and asking me to write a song for 8 days. And it's just really difficult to explain the absolute joy and exhilaration and ecstasy to be, contacted by somebody like Charles, and when I became aware of him, what he's doing, helping people to really connect with the best them, treating illness, serious illness like diabetes, like cancer, through natural means, and making a television program about that. And it's really become, for me, people use the term a lot, reality TV. And it's going to sound quite damning, but it's a lot of it is not. It's not reality TV. It's manufactured. 8 days, you know this yourself. It's real life. We're talking about real life. So to be a part of that, to be asked to write a song for that, incredible. And of course, through the process, I've had the privilege of getting to know Charles better. It's brought me into contact with you, as you mentioned earlier, and many others. So life is truly blessed for me.
What I'd like to do before we jump into a little bit more about who you are and your backstory, I'd like to share a song that you recently wrote. My understanding is it's a fresh song that you just have completed and released. It's available. Tell us the name of the song and just a real brief, high level background on it, and then we're going to play it for our audience and community.
The song is called Remember These Days. There was one Sunday that I just sat down at the keyboard and I started playing some chords and got some words together. And I wanted to capture that if we're going to gain anything from the experience that we're going through at the current time, the benefit is in appreciation. And things like social distancing means we can't hug loved ones. You know, it's very restrictive, it's very limiting. So I wanted to send out a message that says, don't forget this period of time, because otherwise we're just going to return to how it was before. So the message is value and appreciate what we don't currently have, and when we do have it, love it even more.
Beautiful. I'm going to get it up on the screen. I'm going to share it out, and let's get this video going here.
Thank you, Jay. It's connected with a lot of people. It's beautiful how people have responded to it. So yeah, it's a special song for me. Very emotional for me.
Do you recall when we used to wish for more? And the neighbor's need was something easy to ignore. Certainly, loss made us face the value of a simple, warm embrace. Remember these days. Remember those days. And if we love, that will be enough to live together. Remember these days. Do you remember how life used to be? Before we all discovered humanity. What was this lesson that loss made us face? Never forget this one. You remember these days. Remember those days. And if we love, that will be enough to live together. Remember these days. Remember these days. Remember these days. Remember these days. Together.
Break it down for me. What does this song mean to you today?
You know, life's not complicated. Life's not difficult. We make it complicated and we make it difficult, but we're contrary at times as humans. I am. If you take something away from me that I had previously, I want it more. So the message really in the song is the value of the simple value of a warm embrace. And I'm really hoping for me, but for everybody else, that we don't return, I'll say it again, we don't return to a life of distance. We talk about self-isolation, but I think really, in a way, amongst humanity, that's existed for a long time. It's existed for as long as humanity has existed, because there's this perceived barrier of, I can't open up to you, Jay, and I can't give you me, because I don't know what you might do with that. I'm just talking metaphorically, yeah? So that whole trust thing prevents me from just reaching out to you, because I'm thinking, what's Jay's agenda? And we constantly do that in life. I've done that in my life, and I've surrendered that now. And I strongly encourage everybody else to do the same, because when we think about our existence, it's brief. So hug more, love more, talk more, reach out more, listen more, share more. Remember when we didn't have the things that we had before, and let that make us appreciate the future more. That's really what the message of that song is. Otherwise, it's pointless going through what we've gone through.
I love that, Ray.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing that. It's just a couple
That's okay.
just a couple of 24 hours ago that you had a pretty big day in your life.
Yeah.
I'm going to take you back to, I believe today's the 4th of May. Well, it was just around the 1st of May that something big happened. What was that?
It was the release of my album, which you're making me feel excited just saying it. The release of my album, Garden of Life. And leading up to that, I put a blog up a couple of days before the release on my website, and it just dawned on me. It dawned on me, in all of my life, I've written songs for my entire life, and I will continue to do that. That's me. That's what I do. But I'd never released an album. I thought back in the day, back in the 80s, I'd release cassettes. Some people do remember cassettes, but there were 2 or 3 songs. There was no album. And the blog kind of goes through a journey of my entire life. I'd never released an album. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, this is a major accomplishment. This is big, because that doesn't just happen by chance. There's a lot of work that goes into that, the creativity, choosing which songs. What's the concept of the album going to be? Are people going to like it? And all of those self-doubt things. And I'm sharing a message this week, a little sneak preview, which is how we can do that to ourselves, how we can lose ourselves in self-doubt to the point where we think, I can't do that, I'm not going to do it. And I turned that off, and I prevented that and thought, no, I am going to do this. So the release on May the 1st has become far more than a tangible physical thing. And I know we were talking a little about this off air earlier, that you tend to talk about an album release. So it's a physical thing. I've released a CD. That's a physical transaction. There are links on all digital download stores. That's a physical thing. But I hadn't really spent a lot of time thinking about the spiritual and emotional release of what this is and what the Garden of Life is. And that's something that I just had to, the following day particularly, just sit and reflect upon. And I'm still in that process now. What this thing actually is on a deeper level.
The title song, The Garden of Life. Now, I downloaded the album on Friday, and I actually took it into the Outback with me and listened to all of the songs a few times while I was deep into what you refer to as the bush down under, I believe. For those that are coming in from overseas, I may be speaking a few words that you understand more so than in the U.S., but I really enjoyed listening to each song, and each song had a very different meaning. I was very touched by, I'd say 3 or 4 songs that really resonated with me. One we're going to play in a little bit. It's a song. It's called "Keep Walking Straight Ahead," and
Keep walking straight ahead.
I didn't know the backstory from you, but I've got 3 sons, and I know you've got 5 children, of which you've got a few sons, and
Mm-hmm.
I suspected that that song was written as their dad, really having a conversation with your boys, and it really inspired me to share your song with my own sons. It really touched me, and it wasn't until we were in a green room today that you shared with me that one of your sons actually sang backup vocals on the song, and the other son did the video editing for the song itself. What was it like for you to write the song, speaking to your boys, and you could easily be speaking to your daughters as well. It doesn't have to be for the sons; it's for your children.
Exactly.
What was it like for you to invite 2 of your sons to collaborate on this particular song and this project for you?
Oh, well, it's magical because I suppose the normal chronological process of life, they will outlive me. That's normally, and we talk about a legacy, that we leave behind, an imprint, a footprint that we leave behind. And again, it was one of those light bulb moments that dawned on me. And my eldest son plays guitar. He's starting to move into music. He's got a very eclectic mix of music he likes. And I became aware that he'd started singing. So I thought, wow, that would be an incredible opportunity to include him in the song that I'd actually written for them. My other son, very much into filmmaking. He knows his stuff. I really hope I can link him up with Charles sometime. And I know that I've no doubt that would happen because he studies film, in terms of, he knows who was in what, and and he really looks at scripts and how films made, and I'm aware of that. And I thought, well, okay, here's an opportunity for him with the limited resources I've got through the facility I use to create a visual image. So basically, my sons are locked into this song. Now, just quick backstory on the link on my YouTube channel. I've uploaded and taken off a few times songs that I've written, and particularly on the album, because I thought, well, I don't want to put too much out there because I really want people to come into the garden, so to speak, and I want them to want it. I want them to have enough, but I want them to want it. But one song I will never ever take down from YouTube is "Keep Walking Straight Ahead," because if anything ever happened to me, that remains forever. And that is really testament to what it is that I want to do, but also testament to my sons. That's a signature, if you like, an engraving deeper than in stone that is them, and my love for them, my love for my children. Also, the love of us as parents for our children. I didn't have that displayed from my dad in my upbringing. At times in my life, I've been accused of not showing that love through marriage breakdown, etc., to my children. And I thought, I'm not going to allow that to be projected for eternity, that thought, because I know how much I love them. So what I wanted to be projected for eternity was this song. Nobody can remove that. I've said to Micah, I've said, do you realize your voice is in iTunes? Your voice is in Amazon. Nobody can remove that. You can't go in and digitally unpick your voice. It's there. Nobody can remove that.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I want to just take a moment here to just honor you and thank you for sharing this vulnerable part of your story with with all of us that's watching live or on replay. This song is so powerful. It speaks so well to me and my own journey of raising my children, and knowing that there were times where uh, I could have made different choices, especially when they were younger, and how I raised them and the choices that I made, and knowing that I can't go back and change that. However, with whatever time I have left, I can change my choices and improve my relationship with my own children. And ultimately, that's the greatest gift I can give to my children is being a better mentor, a better teacher for my children than when I was younger and they were younger and being raised by me. Today, they're all three out on their own and living in multiple states. And they are now in their mid to late 20s, navigating their own life, their own dreams, their own perspective on how they want to show up for themselves. But it really touched me. Are you open to me playing that song right now?
100%. Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, definitely.
Here we go.
Well, it's lovely. Oh, cool.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. What's lovely?
Go for it. No, it's just one line that I want. One line that I wanted to share particularly is some may try to trip you, but even if you fall, it's not the height nor the depth, but the way we get back up that defines us all. And I just wanted my sons to know, you're going to make mistakes, boys. You're going to make mistakes. You know, don't let anybody else tell you otherwise. It's part of life. You know, mistakes, you're going to learn lessons. You're going to learn lessons. But it's the way you get back up. You know, that doesn't excuse, but what it does is it acknowledges. And I wanted to leave them a message to say, yeah, you know, I haven't made perfect choices, but I've got back up. And that's what you need to do. You know, keep walking straight ahead. Keep walking. That's it.
My son, as you take your next step to become a man, try not to lose your feet. Just keep walking straight ahead. Do the best that you can. Some may try to trip you, but even if you fall, it's not the height nor the depth, but the way we get back up that defines us. Walking straight, my son, can also ride. Happy footsteps, walking straight. Keep walking, keep walking. My son, when you feel life's burdens, you can take my hand. Even if I'm no longer with you, I'm with you when you stand. Some may try to trip you, but even if you fall, it's not the high nor the depth, but the way we get back up that defines us. Walking straight, my son, can also ride. How your footsteps, walk my straight. Keep walking, keep walking. My son, as you take your next step, to lose your feet. Just keep walking straight ahead. Do the best that you can. My son, you can take my hand. Keep walking straight on. Keep walking straight out. Keep holding nice and straight. I'm so proud. Keep walking straight. Happy birthday. Keep holding nice and keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep walking straight. I'm so proud of your footsteps.
Wow. I gotta tell you that song brought chills to my body. Just my whole body's buzzing right now. Ah.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. There's a little amusing aside, which is, I think filial is the correct word, isn't it? Or sibling. A sibling rivalry, which there always is in a family.
Yeah.
That Malachi, my youngest son, got to choose, obviously because he did the video, what he considered to be the most embarrassing pictures of his elder brother.
Okay.
So just to kind of help you with how you're feeling as well, just to create.
Yeah, that was payback.
Exactly. So just a bit of leveling out there, but yeah, no, it was all done in love, and no major thing there at all. But yeah, I mean, I performed that. Go on, Jay. Sorry.
I was curious to ask you, in collaborating with your own sons and creating that beautiful song, the gift that you've given to your children, whether they realize it today or not, there will be a day. Well, they will have a different type of appreciation for that, for the gift you gave to them. However, I'm curious, are you aware of any shift or change in your relationship with your sons since you collaborated on that particular song?
I think probably before then, but with that, definitely, because it's a collective, it's a joint thing, which is what I wanted it to be. Of course, I approached them. I made that mistake as a parent in the past. Sometimes my daughters, they're musically capable, and I wouldn't say push them as an ambitious parent, but one of my daughters, I did push a little bit. She plays piano and sings and has an incredible voice. And when she was younger, I tended to push her a little bit too much, and I learned that's not a good thing to do. With my sons, I invited them and said, how do you feel about this? Is that something you would like to do? But within this, but also before it and after it, what I want for them is what I want for myself. And that's a very important message that I share with my children and others, because I am on a crusade of sorts, which is a creative crusade for me. But more importantly, and also, I'm on that same crusade for others. So if Micah wanted to move into songwriting, move into, becoming a more creative version of himself, he would get my 100% support. If he wanted to work in a garden centre and that's what he wanted to do, that was his passion, he would get my 100% support. And that's really, really important for me, that I don't want to direct the way that my children or anybody manifest themselves in this world. I'm not going to do that for me. I'm not going to do that for anybody. So yes, it is magical, because I do believe that exists in my sons. A creative side of them that probably has been switched off for many years, because, to be fair, I switched that off in myself for a variety of reasons. So it's wonderful to see them stepping into their own skin, becoming the fuller versions of who they are as they're growing.
Beautiful. I love that. You just mentioned something in passing, and you said, if I may paraphrase you, there was a time that it was turned off for you. I'd like to take you down
Yeah.
memory lane and bring you back, so about 12, 13 years ago. A few things profoundly
Mm.
happened in your life that impacted you on a emotional, mental, physical, and spiritual plane. Are you willing to come back there with me right now?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's, the layers of life, the layers of life. I think when people look at life, and you talk sometimes about the phrase, the straw that broke the camel's back. And I often think this where, we experience life multiply. There's a number of things that happen often at the same time. So, here's a brief synopsis of what happened to me 12 years ago. Diagnosed with throat cancer and told if I didn't take the traditional therapy, which is also why, as an aside, I'm so, you know, honoured and pleased and blessed to be involved in what Charles is doing. So this is not to criticise mainstream um, therapy, medicine, but my treatment for throat cancer was brutal. And there's no exaggeration. The surgery was invasive, and the radiation was for 6 weeks, and my neck was brutalized. I couldn't speak, I couldn't eat, and I couldn't speak for close to a year. So that was one big thing. I went through separation and marriage breakdown fairly in close proximity after that experience, and there's a variety of reasons behind that. Thirdly, it almost sounds like I'm kind of giving it bullet points now, but just making a brief journey into my life, really. That my dad left the family home when I was 5, and I never saw him again for my entire life. And he died about the same time as I've experienced the two things that I just said. So, throat cancer, the beginning of marriage breakdown, and then finding out that my dad had died. And my dad lived 45 minutes away from where I was living at that time. And that really that's when I went into a breakdown, basically.
Ray, I'm going to
Um,
invite you
and I think probably lost. Gone.
I was just going
Sorry.
to invite you to just take a moment here and just take a nice deep breath and just kind of pause on what you just shared. Allow yourself to feel into it right now. What's coming up for you?
Acceptance, allowance, recognition. People play out their lives as they see it. So my wife at the time, she was having her experience. It wasn't, in my experience, loving of my experience. So I don't really feel at that time I received the care that I needed, but that was then. And I dealt with that. I've become a stronger person as a result of that. Cancer, I've very much accepted that, because I think for me, watching 8 Days, and it's a genuine, I'm not just saying it for the sake of Charles. I watched the spiritual and emotional journey that those individuals are on. And when Dr. Tony talks about, the healing, what caused the cancer, where did that come from? And I think for me, it was locked up this little boy who felt he couldn't say what he felt. So for my mum, again, she played out her truth. I grew up for my entire life, and I am going to use the word in a vlog the other day. It's not particularly offensive. I chose not to use it, but constantly my mother told me that my dad was a bastard. And as a child, and that continued even into adult life and even into recent times, you know, all of those things combined led me to the position of just feeling I was in life to listen to everybody else's truth as opposed to speaking mine. I think in this moment, that's probably the best way I can sum up those feelings.
Thank you for showing up today, Ray, and sharing your
That's
truth.
okay.
You know, I really appreciate you for having the courage to step in here today and share this part of your life, because we all have those pivotal moments, those experiences that either change the trajectory of our life or contribute to the end of our life. And you chose to embrace it, as painful, as difficult as it was. You were tagged with 3 major events in a very short time. And having to process that, it actually led you, we've had numerous conversations about it. Tell us what happened to your creativity and to your voice for a time thereafter.
Well, I think, again, obviously there's the physicality of it. I effectively couldn't speak for a year. But I think there's the spirituality of it as well. Again, I just allowed myself to close down. And I think the body did that as well. I think to cope with what was going on around me, I, for want of a better expression, and I'm not picking on the current term, I went into lockdown. I self-isolated, you know, within me. And I've been writing every day pretty much for my entire life. I certainly wouldn't go a week without having written some poetry, lyrics, maybe a song, through my entire life. And 2 years after this experience, I wrote nothing at all, not a single word. And then it led to The Voice Within, which was a song, and a lot of my songs are about a place that I don't want other people to be in, which is isolated, disconnected, not able to be heard. And that's my purpose. That is my purpose. My purpose is, of course, for the voice of Ray Coates to be heard, and everyone has that divine right. But more importantly now, because I've repaired, I've healed, still, as with all of us, there's more to do. But I now am in a position where I know what that feels like on a very, very deep level. And musically, creatively, I don't want a single human being to feel in that way unless they close their mind space to me. So I've had to let some people go in my life. I've had to, you know, temporarily let them go because the toxicity of them disables me. It doesn't enable me to be the fullest me I can be. And I feel there's greater value in me being the fuller me that I can be. And I want to be a voice, and I want to create a voice for others.
Wow, Ray, that's just a beautiful what you just shared. And you were without a voice for 2 years, and you just said that what came out of that period of quarantine, isolation, was a new song called "The Voice Within."
Yeah.
I'd like to bring it up on screen and share the song with our community today.
Sure. Beautiful. Let courage guide you home. Oh, that's a different one.
That's a different one. Okay, well, hold on a minute here.
Yeah, I don't remember wearing that dress.
Okay, we'll pull it up. We'll bring it up.
Back in the day. I just actually want to, I don't know when people watch this, the guitarist Glyn Devi, who played and helped me musically a lot at the time, I'm grateful to him. I'm grateful to him for this period of time. You know, when I was back then and fallow, really. But yeah, I hope it connects with many people.
I believe this is the correct one here.
That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's it, Joe.
Fear stumbling in shadows, life was drawn the light from your bone. Then let this be for you. Let courage guide you. Your voice, it feels like an echo. Life's hands are stare to this pain. Then let this be for you. Let hope guide you through dark way. Let the voice within call for help. Let the voice within give you strength. Let others take the burden of your heavy heart. Let the light of hope burn bright from a glimmering spark. Let courage guide you. Be a lost in translation. Life was giving you reason to breathe. Then let this be for you. Find a place where you can believe. Let the voice within you call for help. Let the voice within you give you strength. Let others take the burden of your heavy heart. Let the light of hope burn bright from a glimmering spark. Let courage guide you. Let the voice within you call for help. Let the voice within you give you strength. Let others take the burden of your heavy heart. Yeah, let the light of hope burn bright from a glimmering spark. Hey, let the voice within you call for help. Let the voice within give you strength. Let others take the burden of your heavy heart. Let the light of hope burn bright from a glimmering spark. Let courage guide you.
Beautiful, Jay.
Wow.
Love it.
Let courage guide you home.
Mhm.
That is probably, for me, that is the most profound words sung in a song. When I was at my rock bottom near death, I knew I had two things that I needed to do if I wanted to live. One was I had to surrender, and the second was I needed to have courage to guide me home. And I wasn't talking about, the home within the four walls,
Yeah.
the physical home. I was talking about the spiritual home of myself, coming home to myself, to my soul. Ray, what's coming up for me right now How did cancer change your life?
It's my answer in this moment. It hasn't been my answer previously, but it's my answer now, that it ends. You know, I was mortal. I was an age and a stage in life. I'm a fit man. I worked physically for many years. I used to work in groundwork, and I still have some of that core strength now. So I've grafted, a little bit of an English term there, but that may connect with you. I've grafted. You know, I've done physical work in my life. I've done work that involves endurance, working out in all kinds of weather. And here I was facing mortality, being told, you know, if you don't take what we're prescribing for you to take, which was brutal, you're going to have months to live. So, thank you, Mary. Beautiful. It's, you know, life ends. So the value of it, but not just the existence. And I choose my words carefully here because I'm not offended by the term and I recognize the term. I am a cancer survivor. So I have survived cancer. But the message I share to people who are facing it, have been through it, and there are so many different, you know, connotations of it, but it can affect you emotionally and spiritually, very much so, not just physically. If you have your strength back, if you have your power back, use it, because we're not just survivors. Every single human being alive is a victor, a warrior, a conqueror, an overcomer. And that is the nature of life. Otherwise, what's the point? So for me, the lesson is it's taken a while, but the fragility of life, the preciousness of life, and it's called life for a reason, because we need to live it and we need to be heard. Everybody needs to be heard. So because it affected me here and I couldn't communicate, communication is everything. I've always probably been a little bit of a speaker. And I'm not apologizing now. I do tend to talk quite a bit at times, but I feel I've got so much to say. But I don't just talk. I think listening is critical. And yeah, it's just taught me life is just absolutely amazing, incredible. And find you, find you, find that voice within, whatever it is, you know, whatever it is you want to do it. Do it, because the world needs people to do, not just wait, not just survive, but to thrive, to be alive, to rise, to become better. That's what the world needs.
Beautiful, Ray. Beautiful. I'm going to post up here. Mary said she repeated what you had shared. Toxic people disable you. She says,
Mhm,
powerful.
mhm,
Tell me more. What does that
mhm.
mean to you, Ray? How do toxic people disable you?
Well, I think everybody has their agenda. I mean, you know, my belief system in the past, um, family links that I've said about the loyalty. I've shared this recently, and this has now become understanding in my mind. So my mother, I was living what I felt was a good boy life, a son, a son being a good boy for his mum, and believing what my mum told me, which I'm not saying is untrue. It was her truth, but I chose to never see my dad again in my entire life because I felt that was me being loyal to my mother. And I think I've learned from that how important it is. And I've even seen it, I've experienced it myself. I've been on the receiving end of it. That, and I've accepted that too. But for me, and I share this with others, it's really, really important to try not to do that, because all we're sharing is our experience. I used to find myself quite a lot. So if I turn it around on me, I used to find myself quite a lot looking for sympathy from people. So when I tell people my life story, it's almost in a way that it was a transaction that took place where I wanted people to connect with me immediately. Um, I've gone past that now because not everybody is going to really be that connected with what I've experienced, and I don't expect them to. Does that make sense? So I think for me now, it's if anybody doesn't meet with what I'm trying to do, then and I'm happy to do that in a minute, Charles, no problem at all. He's opened it up now. 100%. And I haven't, I haven't shared what's held me back in the past. I haven't. But now's the time, and it is the time. I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses for over 30 years. Now, I choose my words carefully, and I honour what Charles is sharing there as well. Individuals within that organisation, and other religions do exist, are some of the most beautiful people I've ever met. But the thing I've learned from being in that organisation, and I think other religions can be like this too, is the limiting mindset. I'm not anti-God, I'm not anti-religion, I'm not anti-divine. But what I am against is anything that inhibits and restricts people, in some ways treats them inhumanely. Because if you don't believe what we believe, and if you don't love what we love, then you're anti, you're opposite. And that's a very divisive thought. And it limited me because there were things that I didn't do because they didn't fit within the concept of the construction that I found myself within. And that's what I talk about when I talk about toxic. And it could be family members. If I said to my sons, Micah, you got quite a nice voice, boy, but, you know, you're not exactly Stevie Wonder, are you? You're not exactly Freddie Mercury or Elton John. Um, you know, nice try, son, but, you want to find yourself a proper job. Now, that's the kind of message I've heard from my own mother. Within religion, no, don't be wasting your time on that because, there are more important things to do. Some of the most inspiring and divine people that we have had on the face of this planet Earth have been people who have shared music. And John Lennon, Bob Marley, many, many others, Freddie Mercury, many others, because they have shared a message that is beyond them, that is divine. So I think when you try and restrict the divine to bricks and mortar, it's a building, it's a name, it's a brand, Jehovah's Witness, Catholic, whoever it might be, you are then narrowing the flow, ironically, of spirit. Spirit, who are we? Who are we to decide which source that comes from? So that's the mindset I have now. But previously, that wouldn't have been an acceptable mindset. So that's gone for me. But I share out to others, there's freedom. We have freedom to move and freedom to be who we are. And then spirit, divinity, inspiration, whatever you want to call it, flows. And that's my experience. So I'm certainly not discouraging people from making choices. I'm just saying I think any limited mindset, wherever it is disabling.
Charles says, I was held back also. I wanted and loved
Mm,
football. My
mm,
mom didn't want me playing because of the religion.
mm, mm. Yeah, yeah. And do you know what's amazing, Jay? Is I'm in control of emotion. I do cry. You'll know that. But it's a very emotional connection here with Charles in this public space, and I welcome that because we know and we've shared, and that was amazing. So in my journey, I don't. Maybe he does. I'm not actually too sure that Charles Mattox knows how grateful I am for him, because the request to write a song for what needs to become a major documentary series because of what it is. Don't give me reality TV. Don't talk to me about, Love Island is reality TV. I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here is reality TV. What absolute nonsense. If you want reality, then you're talking about disease, you're talking about diabetes, you're talking about cancer, you're talking about AIDS, you're talking about mental health. That's reality. Don't get me wrong, entertainment can also help us to escape, but it's not real. It's manufactured, it's fabricated. So to know Charles and to connect with him and yourself and others too, I can't quantify what an incredible experience in life that is. And to be asked to write a song and then know Charles's story, very similar, very similar. I stopped myself from being a songwriter and a singer for decades. So it's no wonder I'm baking a lot at the moment. Because I'm playing catch up. I've got a lot of cooking to do.
It's interesting. You just refer to it as catch up. Billions of people spend a lifetime chasing a dream.
Yeah.
And for most, they never catch it. Now, what you're referring to as playing catch up, I feel is very different than chasing something. Because what you are doing today, the kind of music that you're writing today, is coming from within. It's not coming from the outside. And when I hear you say that, I feel like I'm playing catch up. How I receive that is that you're living in a state of gratitude today, because you finally are experiencing something in your life that you waited for your whole lifetime.
Yeah.
And now, my friend, is called freedom.
Yeah.
Freedom from the restraints of other people's belief systems, cultures, ancestral heritage, belief systems. You have broken free of that, and you express it so beautifully well through the loving songs, the words that you write, that you create lyrically, and then you put the melody to it. And so, if this is what catch up feels like, wow, it's not a bad place to be.
No, it isn't. It's a wonderful place to be. Because the cocktail, if we want to mix a dish, Charles would appreciate this. So if we want to mix a dish, it's not a solitary ingredient. It's about, finally mixing a variety of ingredients together. So the menu, the meal of me is all of these ingredients, and the meal of you, the meal of all of us, is all of these ingredients that have now come together and coincided to be served up to humanity at this present time. So Charles's experience, he's operating in gratitude and connectivity to more people now. He's experienced restraint, being held back. Yeah. Of course, like all of us, with his dad, with his mum, tragedy, grief, difficulty. So Charles, yourself, myself, many, many others, we come to life, and this is where I'm now coming to life because I'm not apologizing. All of these things now coincide at this moment in time and make me who I am now and what I offer now. And in a way, that's what I mean by catch up, that I'm grateful for everything I've experienced that's led me to here, because now I can do in the fullest I can at the moment what I'm doing, and I await what happens next.
Beautiful. I love that. We're just about
dessert. I'm looking forward to dessert.
Dessert? Yeah. Well, I'm
looking forward to dessert.
You have a sweet tooth, just like your friend here in the U.S. But today I make healthy choices even in my dessert. Yeah, I choose to take care of myself and respect
Well done.
respect my being the way I had never done before. I'd like to close this out as we are approaching we are at the hour now. Um,
Yep.
Ray, I'd like to close this out with another song on your album, this new album that was just released, your first full album, last Friday, May 1st, called The Garden of Life. When I heard this song, I believe it's the 9th song on the digital track. It's called "Stop the Earth from Weeping." My understanding is, well, I'll let you describe it. When was the song written, and what was the meaning for you then? Because the meaning today, it just takes on a whole new life of its own.
Yeah. It's probably about a year and a half ago. I read a book called "Stop the Earth from Weeping," and I wanted to convey a song that, of course, captured the physicality of the world and the wholesale damage that's being done to it, but also, again, that emotional side. You know, humanity cries out every day in pain for a variety of reasons. And some of that pain can be stopped, some of it can be ended quite easily. So I wanted to send out a message that said, "Stop the earth from weeping." The opening lines, and I've shared this just recently, which is, "Some say, situation unknown, seems we're home alone." Now, when I wrote those words, it was almost like, you know, we're on planet Earth, and whether we believe in God or don't believe in God or divine or universe, sometimes we can all feel that way. You know, where is this, change that we need? Little did I know, and this is where the song has become is even more the message is now. That's why I want people to hear the album, because that's where we are now. You know, it's in a situation unknown. You know, seems we're home alone. This is global, a pandemic. But what happens next again? We can change. We can change. And that's really the message of the song. Collectively, individually, we can make change. We can stop the earth from weeping.
It's time for change. Together stronger. We must rise as some say, situation unknown. Seems we're home alone. No second coming. No time for sleeping. We must rise as one and stop the earth from weeping. We must rise as one and stop the earth from weeping. It's time for change. Some pray they hope they're not alone. Yet they're reaping the seed they have sown. No second coming. No time for sleeping. We must rise as one and stop the earth from weeping. We must rise as one and stop the earth from weeping. Stop the change. Let's rise as one. It's time for change.
Ray, was there another version of that song that had a video that Kristen was mentioning, or is that another song that she's mixing up?
No, not at all. I put in Facebook on my Facebook page the other day, and it's still there. A different version, a shorter version with some poetry that my partner Michelle actually wrote, and I narrate it over it. But with that song, how I see it, and I'm not saying this lightly, it's a stadium song. There's no doubt about that. So in my mind, I make no apologies for what I've just said. I can imagine thousands of people joining in with that song collectively, because that's what the song is. It's an anthem. And whenever I visualize it, so I wanted to capture something, which is why I did a slightly different version, because I wanted to send out the power of the message. You know, it's time for change. I'm tired, and I'm sure many are, and I'm awakened to the opposite of this, where people keep talking about, you know, going back to normal. No. You know, if we've been through what we've been through, and humanity's been through what it's been through, no, let's not go back to normal. What was normal about before? What was normal about the disparity between the extortionately wealthy and people dying on the streets? What's normal about that? So for me, the song really is about that. It's about rising as one in what matters. And if we're going to make the future better, it is time for change.
When you wrote that song, it's at least a year and a half or so or more ago, from your best recollection. You had no idea that that song was going to be even more powerful today in 2020.
Yeah.
How is that possible? Like, can you explain the knowing?
No, because I didn't. I wrote a song that I wrote a song that was what it was, which had a message, and everything does. Everything has a message. But now this is the bit that fuels me more, because this is where I now realize I'm not apologizing for what I'm doing. I'm not trying to over explain it, because it's beyond me. So I'm opening myself to the flow of essentially divine inspiration, because I really feel that's what it is. And I'm writing daily, so there's even stuff I'm not sharing at the moment. When I connect with you, and we have done, and I start writing a song from you, from things that you've shared with me or somebody else, it's beyond me, because I don't just sit down and practically think I'm gonna, you know, engineer these words. The inspiration and flow is outside of me, so I'm welcoming that more. That's the point I'm making. So a year and a half ago, I didn't realize that as much as I realize that now. This is my purpose. This is the reason I'm meant to be on planet Earth. Where that goes, like the flow, that's not my choice. So I surrender that. I don't, whatever it is, that's not mine. You know, if it's writing for other people, if it's, you know, performing my own music myself, I will do whatever is needed, because I feel the inspiration is not mine. It's not mine. It doesn't belong to me.
Beautiful. I love that, Ray. Um, People want to get hold of you. Where can they get hold of you, and how can they purchase this amazing album, Stepping into the Garden of Life?
Thank you. Probably the best place is the website because everything's there. So it's www.raycoatesvoice.com, and I've seen it's going along the screen there as well. I've got a product page there. I've got a contact page there. There's links to the YouTube channel. There's all of my social media links, Instagram, Facebook. So that's the best point of reference. And I want people to reach out. And I actually offer individualized songs because, in the words of poet Henry David Thoreau, the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation and go to their grave with their songs still in them. And that's not me. It's not you. It's not anybody else. So my role in life is to write music, write songs that affect people, affect society, and also affect people individually. If somebody wants a gift song, I can do that for you. So check out the website. Everything's there.
Beautiful. The song that you created for 8 days is called "Your Journey." On YouTube, you've
Correct.
got two different versions of that. One, it's got the album cover "Garden of Life," and then there's a second version.
Yeah.
I'd like to close this out with that song. Which version would you
Yeah.
like me to select?
That's a really good question. I'll tell you what, I'm going to go for the album version. And the reason is I don't want to spoil the other version, although you are correct, it is there because that was released as a single. Because I'm honouring 8 days, and that's the outro song for Charles' Cancer docu-series. So I think the album version.
So that'll be the
Uh,
album cover that says
mm,
"Garden of Life."
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then it, people are going to be watching 8 days anyway, but it's just, I think for me, I'm going to be absolutely in floods of tears when that plays out. There's no doubt about that.
You know what? When I click
I
on
already
it,
know that.
it appears as
Yeah.
though it takes me to, let's see. Um, there it is, "Your Journey." Okay.
Oh, bless him.
All right. What I'd like to do is just take this moment to once again thank you for joining me on Real People, Real Stories. I have absolutely enjoyed our conversation. For those that are watching, I want to thank all of you for joining us today and sharing your comments and a few questions that came through. One second here. Ray, I'm going to invite you to give us some closing thoughts as I bring us into Your Journey, which is the closing song that's going to be on 8 days, which can be viewed right now on WGN Networks on Sunday mornings and or at hopeforcancer.com on their homepage or on their Facebook page. I think we're heading into episode 6. It's not too late to binge watch and catch up on this first time history making docu-reality series on following 5 cancer patients going through alternative treatment to save their lives.
Yeah, 100%. I think the parting message for me, is that okay to do that now, Jay? Is that what you want
Yes,
me to do? Yeah.
yes, please do.
I think is the opening lines of this song. Life sometimes can seem insurmountable. I love it when Charles says the disease that is called cancer. And I love it when he uses that phrase. And I think that's so descriptive that keep going, because things sometimes can feel like you're never going to get through the experience that you're experiencing. If you feel creative, be creative. If you want to say things, say them. Tell people, especially positive, tell people you love them. Accentuate the positive. The more positive energy we send out, the better the world is going to be. And this is your journey.
As you stand at the footings may seem you have a mountain to climb, may feel you cannot make it, but you will make it inside. Oh yes, the road may stretch, seem too far for your feet. Just take one step and soon your inner strength you will meet. You can make your journey, you know you're worthy. You're moving on straight ahead. You can make your journey, just keep on turning, reversing all that's in your head. You can make your journey, you know you're worthy. Keep moving on straight ahead. You can make your journey, just keep on turning, reversing all that's in your head. As you walk beyond your comfort, changes in your mind may feel you cannot take it, but you will leave your past far behind. Oh yes, the road may stretch, seem too far for your feet. Just take one step and soon your inner strength you will meet. You can make your journey, you know you're worthy. Keep moving on straight ahead. You can make your journey, just keep on turning, reversing all that's in your head. You can make your journey, you know you're worthy. Keep moving on straight ahead. You can make your journey, just keep on turning, reversing all that's in your head. You can make your journey, keep moving on straight ahead. You can make your journey, keep moving on straight ahead.
And with that, Ray, thanks again for joining me on Real
Thank you.
People, Real Stories Live, Friday evening at 6 p.m. Just a side note, we have Real Men, Real Talk Live, where Charles Maddox will be joining me and my other co-hosts, Evis Heath, Jeff Fasano, and Josh Richard in Real Men, Real Talk Live. I hope you guys can catch us live. Again, Ray, thanks for joining me today. And
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you. You take care, yeah?